brutally killed, 9 people injured. The shooter, John Hauser, then goes ahead and kills himself. Jeffrey Toobin, we learn now that John Hauser legally purchased a .40 caliber handgun at a pawn shop in Alabama in February of last year. Most Americans want to see greater background checks. He had a history of criminal activity, history of mental problems, yet legally could go into a pawn shop and buy this kind of gun. You also heard the president say in that interview with the BBC yesterday, his biggest frustration over the years is he couldn't get this kind of tighter gun safety control done, and it seems it may not even try over the next year and a half given the opposition. What's going on over here?
Well, I think this is really one of the paradoxes of the American political system, that you have, especially in the United States Senate, you have small states overrepresented in terms of per capita representation, and smaller, more rural states are more pro-gun. And there is just simply not a majority constituency for gun safety rules, even in light of the fact that the public is overwhelmingly supportive of it. And so this sort of situation seems likely to continue. And, you know, the terrible tragedy is even those of us who cover these stories on a daily basis have a hard time keeping track of how many there have been, because it happens over and over again.
Matthew Horace, so what about the background checks? Why not? And you worked at the ATF for a long time. Why not tighten up the rules for background checks? Obviously, hunters, people who could go ahead and use weapons, they should be allowed to do so. But what's wrong with tighter rules for background checks?
Well, Wolf, I don't think anything's wrong with it, and I know every ATF agent that I know would hope that there be stronger and stricter measures for background checks. But we have to enforce the laws that Congress enacts, and we have to deal with states' rights as well. So it's a very complicated issue for us.
A final thought from you, Joey Jackson, because you've worked in these areas for a long time as well.
Sure. Well, something's got to give, and it's time, obviously, not only to have the discussion, but to match action with the discussion. And I know it's just not the issue of gun control. Absolutely, it's mental health and what surrounds that. But you know what? It's all too often, Wolf, that we're on your show and others, and it's the same old tune. People are dying, and something certainly needs to be done about that.
And our hearts, of course, all of our hearts here at CNN, indeed all over the country, around the world, go out to the families of those 2 young